Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello and welcome, everybody. This is episode 6, season 1, episode 6 of the Hope for Romantic podcast. And I am your host, Dropping Dimes, aka the Hope for Romantic, aka the feminist with chauvinist tendencies. And I'm really excited to have you out today. As you can hear in the background, there's some fireworks going off, and that's always a celebration. And I wanted to stop and I wanted to start it like this. I wanted to say thank you to all those who have laid it down on the line for us for these type of days where we can celebrate our freedom. We should be celebrating it every day. We are in the greatest country on earth. I know a lot of people will complain. The internet will have you thinking that we're in a hellhole, but we're not. We're literally in a place where people run to, people try to die to get to. So take advantage every day that you're here, and understand that your freedom is a blessing, and not everybody is afforded. And with that said, I want to announce, ladies and gentlemen, I have a great guest today, man. They are obviously, as soon as a lot of people that know me see her, they're gonna know. Oh man, of course, it's about time. You should have been had her or whatever. But this is somebody, right? And I'll give you some disclosure later. But to start, this is somebody that I truly admire. I've watched them. I've watched the growth in them as a human being, as a woman. I've seen the struggles, and I've seen the mountains that they're climbing. You know what I'm saying? And I see, and I can't. I don't have 2020 on the vision that they have, but I can see clearly that they're gonna be successful and that they're well on their way. So I'm excited to bring on the owner and operator of Queen Meats International. It's a she's going to tell you more about it, but it's a candle infused company. It's a lifestyle brand. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm a user of it. Full disclosure. Um, she's, but I also want to get her take on love, life, marriage. She's a very unique thinker. The type of person that when you get in a room, you definitely want to pick her brain because she definitely thinks off the beaten path. She's not going to follow the everyday or the cliches. She's definitely going to give you some original thought. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome the very one and only Queen Meats International, Michelle Navarrete. What's
That
going
was
on,
a
Meats?
pretty dope introduction. Thank you very much. There's a lot going on right now. My
No,
dog
no,
does
trust me, it's Fourth of
not do
July, man.
well
I get
with
it.
fireworks.
Yeah. It's Fourth of
And it
July, man.
literally
That's what we
feels like
expect.
they're right outside the door and she's having a heart attack right now. She's going crazy.
Oh, the poor baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was
So,
a pretty awesome introduction. Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
nah, no doubt, man. Listen, what do you call it? Um, anytime. So, from the very minute I decided I was going to start podcasting, I always said to myself, Mike, you got to be true to yourself first. You got to be true to yourself first. So don't advertise for anybody that you don't believe in. Don't push any products you don't believe in. Don't let money be the driving factor on anything that you're going to put forward. So with that said, I said to myself, okay, Mike, you know what? What is the number one product that you're using almost every day right now? What is the one that you like every night that you make sure that, when you're feeling anxiety, when you get writer's block, when you get all that, what do you do? And I was like, you know what? I got to bring on my sister, Michelle, because I need her to tell the world what I already know about her product. So first things first, what is the origin story of Queen Meats? Where did it come from? What was the inspiration? And what's the drive? What's your why when it comes to Queen Meats?
Wow, as always, the why is always family, right? So it all started about a little while back, about a year ago. I was working in the cannabis, underground cannabis circuit. And I'm just looking around, I'm watching and I'm seeing all these people come through and who's buying, what are they buying, why are they buying, right? That was the biggest question for me. Why are so many people so intrigued? Why are so many people so obsessed with weed, right? And the common denominator that I found was that not one person told me that they smoked weed to get high. Not one. each and every one of them told me some kind of medicinal reason. Oh, like it helps calm my anxiety, or you know what I mean. It helps me with inflammation or pain. I have this back pain and I don't want to take pills, so I smoke weed. And there was this huge, which now I know is a big misconception, right? That you only know what good weed is if you smoke it, right? I'm not a smoker, so I had no idea how I was going to figure out what good weed was and what I was going to use. So I had to go around and kind of like ask people about the different strains of weed, and I started to learn a little bit about it. I had no idea why I wanted to learn, but I was learning. And I go home one day, and I'm talking to Ceci about it, our sister, and I was like, for your sickle cell, this would really help you if you smoked weed. And she's like, well, no, I don't smoke any. I don't want to smoke anything, and I definitely don't want to eat any edibles, right? Because edibles, you gotta, they can be a little bit too strong sometimes. So she was like, but if there was something out there that I can use that I didn't have to smoke or eat, I would try it. So she and I just looked at each other like, I think you're onto something, right? So we combined geniuses for a few nights, and we were just thinking and thinking and thinking. And she comes to me and she said, I bought this CBD candle in the store. She's like, but does it really work? And I just looked at her like, click. I'm like, I can make one that works. I know I can. I know enough about this at this point that I can create something that would really, really work. So shout out to Dad Badass, because he was like my little go-to guy that I would go to and kind of talk about what I wanted to do. And he really encouraged the idea. And he was like, this is genius. This is great. He's like, there's stuff out there, but if you can make it, needs to get better. Right. So if you can create something really good, he's like, trust me, it's going to do well. So I did what I've always told myself I need to do, and I don't do this. I kind of ignored the noise of the universe where everybody was telling me that's such a stupid idea. That's never going to work. Right? Like, are you serious? Candles? You're so dumb. Right? Literally, this
Mhm.
is was the feedback I was getting. And I was just like, you don't know what you're talking about. Because for me, it was way beyond just candles. It was more of like, I had asked, I'm a believer, so I had asked God for an idea, and I promised that if He gave me an idea, I was going to run with it. And I was like, this is my idea. I have to stick to my promise. I got to run with it, right? So I got to make this perfect. I have to make it good. So trial and error, we tried a few different types of scents, a few different types of candles, and some of them gave me a stomach ache. Some of them gave me a headache, and I couldn't come up with the perfect formula until finally I did. And I came up with something far beyond what I even imagined it was going to be. And we created the cottonmouth candle,
Mm.
and that's how it happened.
No, so okay. So you developed the candle. That's the science. That's the thought process behind the candle. But I know there was an inspiration that came before that. There was. I heard your story on another. Obviously, I've talked to you about it a million times, but I've heard you share your story on another podcast. And I said to myself, that's the one. That's the story that I want my audience to hear, because that's the story. That's the story that is going to get that person that wants to give up to keep moving one more step. That's the version of the story that's going to get the person that says, yo, my life, I don't know what to do. I can't. It's going to change that I can't to I can. So I said to myself, let me go back with her. You know, let's talk about how you grabbed what was a negative perception and you turned it into a positive. Not just a positive, but a booming positive. For those of you who don't know, her candles are booming. They're selling. They're actually the business is doing fantastic. So, like that's what I really want to emphasize. How she went from where she started and how she was facing a lot of adversity and just looking around and trying to figure out where her life was going and what she was going to do. And then she said, you know what, I'm going to take this adversity and I'm going to turn it into power. And yeah, there's people that go to therapy, go to psychologists, psychiatrists for years to be able to do that, to be able to
Yeah.
learn how to grab something that could have destroyed them, work through the fire, and instead of the fire burning them, the fire molds
You
them
know,
to who they are today. So I really want you to tell that part of the story, man. At least touch on what you feel
so
comfortable touching on.
this is really hard because it's like kind of like going back to your abuser. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like oh, every time I think about this, I'm like, I can't believe I had to go through this. But about almost 10 years ago now, um, I was I was arrested for 7 different counts of possession. Right. Um, at that point, my world crumbles. I don't know what I'm going to do. The whole story behind that we'll talk about some other day. That's for like a whole other
For
podcast.
sure, absolutely.
But what I can tell you is that my life completely changed from that moment on because not only did I feel like a loser inside, right? But people are looking at me like I am a loser. Like I was completely counted out. I was ostracized. People who I thought were my friends were the biggest like judges and just, you know, look at that girl. She was supposed to be so great, right? She was supposed to be this comedian, actress, writer, this vibrant woman, and look what she turned out to be, right? And it didn't have to be said. I could see it in people's faces, and you're
Don't
not
be anything.
crazy. You know what I mean? Like you can tell the looks, right? And it got to the point where I became so good at knowing if somebody had Googled me or not
Mm.
because I could see the look on their face, how quickly it would change, you know? And the perception was, is she dangerous? She's gang affiliated. You know, should I be around this person? Is she trustworthy? You know, so what does that do too? I couldn't get a job. I couldn't work. I had to come up with ways to, honest hustles, you know what I mean? Whoever would hire me under the table, like, please, I need to make money. And I was trapped in this little box of you're never going to amount to anything at all. You're just going to be this person that you know what I mean, who made a mistake, and the world's never going to forgive you for it. You know, and so it took a lot of kind of like digging myself out of the sand because it was kind of like I was buried all the way down to the ground, and the sand was already above my head and there was no way out. I fell into a deep depression. I did not want to leave my house. I didn't want to look at anybody. I didn't want to talk to anyone. If I didn't own a cell phone, I would have been okay because I didn't want to get on social media. I didn't want anybody looking at me. And the more I could hide, the better it was for me because I didn't want to be in Front Street for that judgment, you know? And it was a really really hard time. Thank God for the good friends that I do have in my life and the family because it was oof, I can't even begin to imagine going through that ever again. You know, the depression portion of it. I will tell you, if anybody out there thinks that they suffer from depression, seek help ASAP because it's no joke. You know, there's a huge difference, but also a thin line between being sad and being depressed. It's two completely different things, but they can mimic each other, you know? So the only way to know if you really actually suffer from depression is if you go to a professional that knows how to differentiate between the two. And they'll ask you specific questions, you know? And luckily, during that time, my ex husband was smart enough to say, this isn't how I met you. You weren't like this. Like there's something's got to give, you know. And he found me a really good doctor. And that's another thing. Not all therapists are the same, right? Not all psychiatrists, not all doctors are the same, right? So you want to go for the best. And he was like a pioneer in the industry, and he was like, "This is what you're going through, and the only way to combat this is if you recognize the signs and get in front of it every time." And that's what I have to do every single day. I have to do that every single day, even to this day, because it's not something that I can actually control. But if I know that it's coming, I can do something about it. And the best thing about it is that knowing is half the battle, you know? So
Absolutely.
it's somewhat of a cure. So if
Absolutely.
anybody out there deals with that, find yourself a good doctor and definitely find out whether if you are sad or if you are depressed because there is a difference.
So,
Sadness you can get through. Depression's going to be with you forever.
so what was your tipping point what was your tipping point when you first decided that you were going to start the Queen Meech? Like, what was the okay? You said that you talked to Ceci and you did all that, but what gave you? Because there's often times when you're going through what you're going through, there comes a moment where you're like, all right, now I want to be great. I want to be great because it's not just about the product. It's just not just about what you made. It's about your decisions to be great. And when did that light switch? When did it say, okay, you know what? No more victim, no more this, no more that. I want to be great.
You know, it's funny because I've always known, and you can attest to this.
Yeah.
I've always known that I'm destined for greatness. Like nobody can tell me shit. The problem is that I didn't know how to obtain it. I had no idea. I thought that just simply being a good person, right? And doing for people, people will give me back the energy that I was giving them. And that was absolutely not the truth, right? You are supposed to be a good person, but you have to take care of yourself first. And that's what I didn't know, right? So here I am taking care of people and I'm leveling them up and I'm giving them all these gems like, this is what you should do for your business or you should do that. And I'm helping them out for free, helping them develop themselves and watching them make all this money and I'm cheering them on, right? And I'm like, but there's nobody cheering me on. What happened?
Mm.
And then I realized, wait a minute, what do all these people that I help have in common? And they all choose themselves first. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to adopt that attitude, but I'm not going to change, right? I'm still going to be the same me, but I'm going to adopt that attitude. And I'm also going to teach people to have that attitude as well, because it's okay to think about yourself first, right? So as soon as that clicked in my brain and I grabbed that idea, it all kind of happened simultaneously, where I was like, okay, I have this idea now. I have my why. I can be great now with no breaks.
Hmm.
I'm not stopping for anybody. If that all
That's what
makes
I'm
sense.
talking about. That's believe it or not, right? That's such a jewel, it's such a dime right there because there's so many people, right, that don't understand what you just said. They've been they haven't read hasn't registered in their head what you just said. You know what I'm saying? Like how you went about it and how you were able to flip that switch. They're not able to do that. You know what I
You
mean?
know, the journey though and that's the thing. You also have to not look at what anybody else is doing or compare yourself to what anybody else is doing because
Yes.
your journey is personal. It's a personal thing. It has nothing to do with anyone else who has a candle company. I could be honest with you. I have no idea what any other candle companies do. I have no idea. All I know is that whatever I'm doing, I want it to be authentic. I want it to represent me. And I want to be giving back at the same time as I'm doing it. And I want to create a quality product. That's the only thing that I have control over in this whole
Hmm.
process. And it's great because it's the only thing I want to have control over. Right. So, hey, more power to everybody else. But the focus has to be on me all the time. All the time.
I love that. I love that. So, okay, you're a woman entrepreneur, all right? And in this day and age, there's a lot of talk about women's rights being taken. There's a lot of obstacles women have to overcome in the workforce when dealing, especially if they're dealing in male-dominated societies or male-dominated industries. And what I wanted to talk to you about is I want you to talk to the audience, especially the young women out there that are listening. Um, Number one, what are some of the have you come across any obstacles or have people been cooperative overall? Or have you seen that men treat you different in this industry?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I had this conversation with a friend of mine, another podcast, and he said to me, do you think it's easier for women to navigate in in certain settings than it is for men? And I said, yeah, absolutely it is because we're pretty, right? And men like pretty. So, we can use our smile. We laugh at their jokes, and you know what I mean? You shake your titties a little bit, and it helps when you got dimples, things like that. But do you really want to have to use those things to get ahead? You don't really. Sometimes I don't feel like putting on makeup, and then what?
You're
Like
right.
what? Then there goes my tactics, right? What the heck? So I want to be able to be recognized, hopefully, at some point, just for my intellect and my creativity.
And for your, yeah, for the intellect and for your product, you want to be able to. It's so funny because I always say that I'm like, when you meet a man in business or a man meets you in business, it's like there's that layer that's removed. It's automatically about the business. It's automatically about you know dealing with that. Where a lot of men when they deal with women, there's like this layer before they deal with business.
Yeah, and
This
that layer
size
is,
them up.
how can you
It's
make
like
them
they look at women,
feel
they size them
first?
up to see if okay, can is this going to be more than business? Can I use business as a means to get something else? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they
They
all
start to
shoot their
sneak
shot.
in and they start to like work their way that way. And I'm sure you've had countless number of people try to approach you acting like they're talking business first, and in reality, they're really trying to
Yeah.
just be funny.
Yeah, I mean, after a while, and I'm sorry to have to say this, but men are so predictable. So after a while, you kind of recognize who's in it for that and who isn't, you know? And there are certain things that you kind of pick up on that you're like, ah, never mind.
Give
It's
us
not going to do
give
anything
us
for
one
me.
something that you see early that maybe a lot of women won't catch, but something that you see early, maybe in a tone, in the way somebody does something, in the way somebody presents something. Is there a chance that maybe like they kind of dangle something like a carrot at first? You know what I mean? Like,
It's not anything they necessarily do, it's an energy.
got it.
It's an over sexualized energy that they present. And they can be the nicest and the kindest, and you still like it just comes in like boom, it hits you. And then the minute you pick up on that energy, it's like you have to decide, do I really need this person? Can I shift them? Or do I not really need them at all and just not even waste my time with this? You know what I mean? But it just sucks to have to make that decision. It sucks that that you might have to make that decision at some point when you initially meet somebody. It's horrible.
So I have another. That leads me into another question. Um, you're a woman in business, and I'm sure that you run across women that use their body, use their sexuality. And I remember once before you gave me a clear cut answer about the difference between one type of chick and a boss chick. And I would like for you to give that audience
What
there's
did I
and we're not
say?
listen, by all means, we're
Because
not
I have a lot
downplaying
of
what you gotta
insights.
do. What you have to do is what you have to do. How you make your living, how you survive. Yo, I'm not knocking it. We're not judging it. But I really was fascinated by the definition that she gave because she's like, when you're in a room full of women, people know who's who. You know who's who. You know what I'm saying? And each different type of woman gets a different type of respect for what they do. So can you tell my audience a little bit about that?
There's a really big difference between a survivor and a hustler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of women have been put in a situation where
Say that again. Say that again. Say that again. Say that again.
there's
That was a good
there's a
one.
really big difference between a survivor and a hustler.
There's a big difference between a survivor and a hustler. I like that.
Huge. And we all have a little bit of survival in us, right? But
Absolutely.
most of us use that as our main strength. You know what I mean? And the difference is that a survivor is willing to do anything and everything to stay afloat. A hustler is more calculated. A hustler is not just gonna do anything and everything. You know, they look at the long term. How is this gonna serve me? They kind of think things out a little bit more. They build higher quality relationships with people. You know, they don't mingle with the bottom feeders. They try to level themselves up even in the relationships that they carry. So there's a big difference between the two. When you're just constantly surviving, It's like, hey, what do I got to do today?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. What's next? What's next? No
What's
judgment
next?
here. No, no judgment.
And no judgment at all, because let me tell you something. Different strokes for different folks, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't concern myself with nothing that doesn't concern me.
There
So
it is. However, I've met
more
some good
power
people
to
that do some bad things, man. So I get it.
yeah, more power to
I
you
get it.
if that's the way you want to flow. You know what I mean? But in my brain, in my experience, it's been way better for me to be a hustler than a survivor.
Absolutely, because like what is it P Diddy says? He said, "Throw me in the jungle, I'll come back out with chinchilla underwear and a lion coat or whatever." You know what I'm saying? It's
Uh,
the truth. That's how you got to think, man.
that's how it
You
is.
got to think that when no matter what the situation is, number one, you don't sacrifice your dignity and you don't sacrifice your integrity, and you
Okay.
try to take the high road and you try to make things happen. And like you said, cultivating playing the long game. Short money doesn't last. You got to make that
Yeah.
for the long game. So I get what you're saying on that.
This journey has
Oh,
been long and well thought out. I've
yeah,
been
and
thinking
it's
about
and
this
it's
for years.
and that's the thing, and that's the thing about it, right? I even in my journey when it comes to podcasting, when it comes to writing, whatever it is, I've always been the type like I'll take one follower at a time. I'll take one book person that buys my book at a time, one extra view on a podcast at a time, because what's for you, nobody could deny you,
Nobody
and
can
it's gonna
deny.
just happen. And you know what I mean? And I'm my favorite saying on earth is the universe doesn't know late; it only knows right on. Before you just destroy. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like these process that we go through, these long ups, the downs, those are all lessons. Even in the failures, there's lessons. All so that you ever talk to somebody, you talk to a friend, and let's say you accomplish something, you guys finish something. You guys never talk about the day you accomplished it. You talk about the journey.
Yeah.
You talk about the time you had to, share a bag of chips. You talk about the time that you were freezing outside. That's what you talk about. You know what I mean? So when it comes to these type of journeys, we're so quick. A lot of people are so quick about the destination. And as you know, I know it's a little cliche, but it's never the destination. It's always the journey. It's always the people you meet, the little victories every day. You know what I mean? Like even with me, I absorb everything as a small victory. I don't take anything for granted. So like when I get when Buzzsprout sends me, oh Mike, you got X amount of downloads for your podcast, and it doesn't seem like a lot to anybody else, and I'm like, boom, goal number one. All right, cool. This is good. All right, good. And it just gives you that little extra motivation to keep moving forward. You know what I mean? Like I always say, only you have 2020 on your dreams. Nobody else sees the vision like you do. You know what I mean? And it's not
That's
important what they
definitely food for thought. I mean, everybody should have that thought process, I think, because it's really important to even just enjoy the moment. You know what I hate the most is when somebody comes back and tells me something like, "Oh, remember that time?" and I can't remember.
mm,
And I'm like, "Damn." It makes me feel like I really wasn't soaking in the moment, you
yeah,
know?
like you kind of let it pass you by. And you're like, damn man, you know what? Or when somebody tells you about a moment and only later on do you realize how impactful that moment was. And you're like, oh man, wow, that was the big deal. How come I
Yeah.
didn't, you know
How
what I'm
come
saying?
I
Like
didn't
you said,
know? How about you know how many
like,
times
damn,
that's
well,
happened to me with so many things that I've done, and they're like, "Remember when you did?" And I'm like, "I don't. You thought that was that much of a big deal?" I'm like, "I did it because it was easy.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't do it because it was that much of a big deal to me, you know." But yeah, that's definitely a truth
I
for
want to
sure.
talk more about your product, man. I want to talk more about the candles, what you have already, what you have now.
Which I
Where,
always
let's,
have
let's
lit.
let's start with this. Where can people find you? Right. Let's. I'm gonna put up your all your.
I always have a candle lit. By the way, there's not a day that goes by that candle's not lit. I've gone through. I don't know. I'm getting high on my own supply.
Yeah,
um, no,
queenweeks.com. Where can they find you on
actually, I will
Instagram?
let you know. This is what the candles are. They're luxury cannabis infused candles. Okay, they're infused with hemp. CBD mostly, and they are not intended to make you high. They're intended to help you relax. And aromatherapy. That's what it is. Candles have been used for aromatherapy for centuries, right? So now combining it with CBD just adds another zoom, 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 you know?
Mm.
And who doesn't want to relax, right? Who doesn't want to feel good? So this is what has been reported, because I can't tell you that this is what the candle does, but this is what people have told me, that it literally has helped them with insomnia. It's helped them fall asleep. They've been having trouble sleeping. They light the candle and it works wonders for them. They're on like their fifth, sixth candle by now. And also with our sister, she reported that it helped her with her inflammation. It gave her a little bit more of a pep in her step. She was able to sleep better at night. So now she had a little bit more energy. Um, Again, total disclaimer. I didn't, that's not what the candle was intended to do, but I'm happy that it can help people in that way, you know? Um,
Well, I could attest to, and I have my, I have mine right behind me. What do you call it? I can attest to the product. And again, obviously it's my sister, but people that have seen me, people that I do podcasting with, that I talk to,
Wait, before you say that, because you just said this is my sister, people need to know my siblings are the worst critics ever. If it's crap, they will tell you it's crap. And that's
pretty
it.
much, yeah. But no, I have to say, like I said, I and again, this is not the intended use. I'm not trying to sit here and be like, oh, this is what it does, but this is what it did for me. This is what it does for me. There's been times where I sit down and I have writer's block and I can't go anywhere with it, right? And I'm kind of like shot down, and I find myself like in my own head. I light my candle, and after a few minutes, I just have this almost like a meditative state. Like I just kind of relax. I don't get high. I don't get high. I don't do that. So,
Right.
but I definitely get this like meditative state, and I'm like, and I'm able to kind of like slow my thoughts down a little bit. Just slow them down just enough where now I'm like productive. You know what I mean?
And
So
creative.
that's why I'm a big fan of it. Like, I mean, I'm constantly telling you to bring me another one. So, I'm a big fan of it. But and I'm
I
always
mean, there's going to
promoting it.
be
I'm proud.
so
So
many products that we're going to introduce from now until the end of the year. We're also going to be going to Ecuador, going to Brazil. We're going to be making some deals in Trinidad. There's so many things that are going to be happening within the next year for Queen Beach International. It's officially an international brand. So that's what makes me so excited, because I never would have thought in a million years, when I first had this thought in my head, when I created this logo, I didn't even know what business I was going to have. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had a name, I had a logo, but I had no product. So I was like, I don't even know what's going to happen, but I just can't stop. I have to keep going. I have to keep moving. And so I end up creating this logo. And I remember you guys asking me, like, what is this for? And I was like, I don't know. It's my brand.
hmm
It's my brand. What brand? I didn't even know what I was doing. But I had this little voice in my head that kept telling me, it's okay. Keep going. It's all right. Just keep going. And then people that I thought
you
I,
build it, they will come.
yes, that's what I felt was happening, like Noah's Ark, right? And I was just like, I can't stop. I have to keep going. And I made the logo, and I was so happy with it that I was like, you really have to be something now, So I'm so happy that it was this candle too. I'm so happy that it turned into this,
Yeah,
because
and it's what it's looking like is the beginning of a lifestyle brand. You know what I mean? That it just seems like this is only the tip of the iceberg, only because of where you're going. And a lot of people behind the scenes don't, I mean, that aren't behind the scenes don't understand where you're going to be going with these products. You know what I mean? And as you roll them out, I'll be the first one to advertise them, to put them on my podcast, to make sure I let the world know what they are, because I truly believe in them. I truly believe in
it's awesome, because the people that I gave samples out to, like say for like the body lotions and things like
them.
that, they're like, we need more. I'm running out. Like, what happened? Like, why don't you have this on your website yet? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's because I'm a perfectionist. And if I don't feel like it's perfect, I'm not going to put it out.
I agree.
So
They keep
I'd
that
rather
quality.
wait.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'd rather wait until it's absolutely perfect. And when I'm happy with it, then it will be put out and for everyone to enjoy, you know?
So, Queen Meech, this is the Hopeful Romantic podcast. So, um, aside from giving you your flowers, and the title of the program today is called "Strength of a Woman." So, I think that the audience has gotten a clear case of who you are, and that you're an empowered woman, and that you're moving in the right direction when it comes to business, and you're going to be successful and all that. But I also want to talk about the other half, which is about what this usually the centerpiece of my podcast is about, and it's about relationships and love. I'm always fascinated that you have a very unique set of thoughts on relationships and labels and making sure that people don't box people in to what's supposed to be, you know. But I wanted to ask you this question, right? Compared to when you were young, right, when you were younger, and to now, what are some of the things, if you could talk to a young Michelle about love, if you could talk to a young Michelle about love, what's some of the advice that you would give her?
Create your own lane first. You first, them second.
You
Don't do
first.
anything. Don't do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable or that's going to change your spirit. Because I got married pretty young. Now that I'm 42, I feel like that was like way too young to
Oh,
get
you're
married,
talking, man. Listen,
right? I was
I
what,
got married
28?
24.
Yeah, I was like 28 years old. And let me tell you, if I could talk to 28-year-old Michelle, I'd be like, run! Don't do it.
Like, what are you doing?
No, chick, stop. And it wasn't, and not to say because he wasn't the one, because here's the crazy thing about my individual experience. My ex-husband is still to this day one of the best people I know. Great person. We were not compatible at all. And here's what I realized about that relationship and every relationship after that. It is absolutely unfair to set expectations on someone, right, that they are incapable of fulfilling.
Meech, you just hit something right on the head that I always say. I always say somebody can tell you, I love you with all my heart, and they 100% mean it.
Yeah.
But let's just say somebody's heart is on a scale of 1 to 10. You need a 10 of love. And when they say, I could love you with all my heart, the max that their heart can give you is a 6. So
Yeah.
you're going to always end up empty. You're always going to
Right.
feel empty because they're not lying. They do love you the best they can, the most they could ever do. They just can't love you to the level you need them to love you.
Right. And I'll
You know?
tell you this man loved me very much. I loved him very much, but we loved each other. Our outlook on love was completely different. What was important to him was not important to me at all. And what was extremely important to me didn't even cross his mind. You
So
know,
the love languages were off.
our love languages were so off. It was insane. However, we had each other's backs like there was no tomorrow. So that was no question. I could trust him.
Mm.
Him maybe trust me not so much, but I could trust
That's-
him. I could trust him. But here's the thing also, emotionally, I was extremely immature. I had like my emotional IQ was non-existent back then. I don't even think I would even be able to have a conversation about emotional IQ back then. I didn't even know what the hell that was, right?
yeah.
So emotionally, he was a little bit more mature than I was. And he couldn't understand how a girl like me, so intelligent, wasn't.
Right.
He's like, how do you not grasp this? How do you not understand this? And now I come to find out if I could have communicated in his language, right, to
Absolutely.
him the reasons why I wasn't able to communicate in his language,
Mhm.
then maybe there would have been something to salvage. Because I am a firm believer that you should stick there and fight. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because, there's waves to relationships, right? So if you get through the wave, then you can kind of like
I would
cruise
say
through
when you're
together.
on the up, you find happiness. When you're low, you find wisdom.
Yeah, I think that if we would have been able to find that common ground, then it would have been a little bit better. But again, compatibility was just not our thing. And but still to this day, one of the people that I love and respect the most, you know,
Hmm.
and he's happy. Whoa, that just scared me. um, he's happy. He has his family. He's got kids. You know what I mean? He went on and lived his life. I'm happy. Queen Meech is my baby. I'm living my life. And so it was a good thing. It was just, I guess, something that was supposed to happen through my journey and a person that I was supposed to experience through my journey,
Right.
right? Um,
I always say some people come into your life, right, to show you something that'll set you up for the future. You know what I mean? Like they show you what love could look like, even if you're not ready for it. Sometimes they come and they show you this is what love looks like. And you may not be ready for it right now, but just know that it kind of leaves that taste in your mouth where love wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad thing, especially nowadays with the internet. The internet will have you convinced that, yo, love is shitty. This is bullshit. Everybody sucks and nobody wants to get mad.
because people are so selfish. People are so damn selfish. They want love to look like the way they want it to look like. Period.
We've been
Right?
programmed.
And that's it. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, don't you know that this is not a cookie cutter thing.
No.
Love looks different for everybody. And let me tell you something, there's a lot of relationships out there, right? That may look wonderful in photo, but they're both going through hell.
Absolutely.
And then there's
And
others
there's a
that you're
lot of
like, you
relationships
never
out there.
see them together, and they probably have the best relationship.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. There's a lot of relationships out there, right? Where because they don't fit the status quo. They don't fit the usual, like you said, cookie cutter mold. People will look at it and be like, oh, that can't work, that can't work, that can't work. And I always say this: two people come to an honest agreement on what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what they choose to do, how they choose to live their lifestyle. And as long as it works within the four walls of their house or within their relationship, it's
Right.
nobody's business.
It's
And
nobody's
I
business.
think that that's one of the narratives that we need to shift. We need to stop selling people on what a relationship is supposed to look like. I know now there's a big movement for polyamorous relationships, thruples, and all this other stuff, right? And at first, a lot of people were hesitant. Oh, no, no. I'm more of the mindset now where I'm like, do you, boo? Hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've done traditional love and it not worked. You know what I'm saying? I've been married the traditional way, it didn't work. You know what I'm saying? So, like, why am I judging you? If what you've been doing, 50% of the people on earth in the United States get divorced.
Right.
50%. So how are you so right? How do you have all the answers
How do you
if
have the
50% of the
audience?
people go right? How do you know that the 50% had they done it my way or this way? You know what I'm saying? Where maybe, and again, this is just throwing
The
theories out
way
there.
the way I'm
Um,
sorry, you were saying?
no, I was saying like what do you call it? Like there's 50% of couples end up in divorce. So I'm like, what if they look at that 50% and go, oh, you know what? He's allowed to cheat. I'm allowed to cheat, or I'm not even necessarily cheat. We're allowed to have an open relationship, or we're allowed to whatever. I just don't feel like these rules, right, that have been set up are actually benefiting the actual relationship dynamic. I think it needs to
Because
be more
rules don't
fluid.
benefit a relationship dynamic. There is
Right.
no
It needs to be
rule.
more fluid. It needs to be like,
Yeah.
yo, like whatever works for us, as long as we're in agreement with it. You
Right.
know?
And then the difference between me then and me now is that I'm very clear on what it is that I want and the type of relationship that I want. And I also understand that it's not for me to impose that on anybody either.
Right.
It's just that I'm on a journey to find somebody who can,
Fit the mold.
yeah,
Yeah. I always say that, man. I'm like, the only person that complains about the standard is the person that cannot meet the standard. You know what I mean? So like,
right.
especially with women, and I know that's why I call myself the feminist with chauvinist tendencies, because when it comes to women, I kind of try to I defend that part of it, and I'm like, not that they need defending, but to talk to guys like, dude, you cannot You cannot impose your will and change somebody. What you have to do, you have to set your rules, set your standard, your personal preference, what they are. But as you get older, what I do find is this: you have to have absolutes, which
Mhm.
are absolute non-negotiables, and
Non-negotiables.
then you have to do the shit where you're like, I'm not fucking perfect, yo. Nobody's perfect, so like,
Right.
we gotta be real. We gotta be real with each other. You know what I'm saying? So like, we could say something like an absolute is he cannot be an alcoholic. That is an absolute.
That
Cool.
don't
That
really
works,
bother me too
right?
much.
That works. But then you can't be like, oh, he can't want to like watch sports every weekend and whatever, whatever. Because now you're like, whoa, 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 come on, man.
Come on,
It has
that's
to be
just
a
control.
fluidity to
That's sheer
you when you get
control.
to a certain age and you want to date. You know what
Because
I'm
it's
saying?
like,
You
what, you don't
cannot,
have your own life that like a couple of hours is bothering you? Like, what's going on?
yeah,
So that's
exactly.
like, that's thing. For me, it was more like, the older you get, it's slim pickings out there. You know,
The dating pool gets piss
not
in it.
the for real, and sometimes poo. Like it's no good.
Yeah.
It's no
You know
good.
what
You
it
know what I
is?
mean?
I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and it was like, what starts to happen is it seems like instead of the less rigid you should be, the more rigid people get, the more stuck in their ways they get. So like the older you get, the more you figure I lasted this long, and look how I got, and look how I did. It must be the right way. And then you meet somebody and they do stuff different, but you're so stuck in your ways that you don't explore the other way. You know what I'm saying? You're like, and I'm like, when I talk to guys, especially when they're like at an age where they want to find somebody and they're like, yo, man, girls don't want to date, man. They're this, and that. I'm like, no, no, no. Listen, that's not true. That's not true, my brother. This is what you have to do. You got to put yourself out there. What are your absolutes? What are your negotiables?
What are
And then
your absolutes?
what are my absolutes?
Mhm.
You can't yell at me in public. You yell at me in public, it's over.
My
It's
feelings
over.
get hurt.
You
I don't
yell
give
at
a
me in
damn.
public and it's
I
over.
will.
I look at you
What?
dead in the face like you died to me. Like I don't. Well, what I'm trying to say is disrespect,
Disrespect. Yeah.
disrespect. Because I know how I talk to people. I don't care how pissed off I am, how mad I am. I always talk with a certain tone. Don't get me wrong. You're gonna get my point, but I don't yell. I don't cur. I don't do none of that shit. So I demand that in return. The
Yeah.
minute you cross that line, it's like, oh, that's the line they sent. You crossed it. Okay, cool. I don't do that. I don't play that game because all you did, if I allow you to race that line, you push it back. Now there's a new line. What's next? You're gonna slap me? What's next? You're gonna do this? What's next? You're gonna, you know what I mean? No, I don't do that shit. So that one is a major absolute for me. How you talk to me.
Yeah.
Um, Another is I have to see drugs. Drugs to a certain extent. I'm like, yo, listen, drugs and alcohol to a certain extent. I need it to be a social thing. I need it to be chill, whatever, whatever. When I see that to
Yeah.
excess, I have to be like, okay, I got to walk away
You and I
because
could never date. I'm just telling you right now. I'll go
yeah,
off
because
on
you
you
look
in
at it, you're like
Walmart and I drink like a fish. So,
you drink like a fish, and a lot of it, a lot of my absolutes have come from my past. You know what I'm saying? From situations I've been in with people and people that I've met or dated and been with, where I was like, one of my major, major, major ones is hygiene. Hygiene is a must. It's an absolute must. I need the hygiene to be on point.
oh,
You know what I
a
mean?
dirty,
Like
dirty
that's a
past.
non-negotiable. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of other things. If we don't agree politically, I'm the type where I'm even willing to like, all right, well, I'll hear you out as long as you're not emotional about it. If you're emotional about it, then we can't be friends. But if you're not emotional about it, I'm not going to get emotional about your politics and your
Right.
thoughts, whatever, whatever. Things
Ruby
like that.
C says no cheating. I'm 100 with that one. No, no cheating. That's like a deal
Oh
breaker
yeah,
for
yeah,
me.
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
go back. There's
yeah.
no turning back. I can probably get through almost anything in a relationship with somebody. I can't do the cheating thing.
Loyalty is absolute. Yes,
Loyalty is key
yes,
for me.
yes, yes, yes. The
Some people
minute
can forgive that. I've met people that can forgive that.
I've been forgiven, so yeah, I know. I've been forgiven. I know it could be whatever.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, right? I'm gonna say this. I'm not ever gonna say never. All right, because it all depends on what you have to lose. Like, so when I see a woman that has children and built a life with a man, and she takes him back, I'm not judging her. or I see a
Right.
guy that's fighting for his wife and he takes her back, I'm not whatever. Me and my personal life where I'm just dating and relate, yeah, absolutely, definitely not. No, man. You know what I mean? But I don't judge people that do take people back and that do forgive or do choose to live their life in a in that way where they forgive and they're able to move on. So, that's what I would
Ruby
say.
C says, I'm not saying that word. No passing gas goes with disrespect. That's just controlling. Like, come on.
That's hilarious.
Some people, some people got to do their thing, you know.
Yeah, man. What are you doing? What are you squeezing people for? Get out of here. No.
Why are you squeezing people?
Yeah, you gotta let them be. Okay,
Mhm.
so we're gonna play a game called Red Flag, No Red Flag.
That's
Okay.
pretty tough for me because I'm all about the red flags. I like
Red
them.
flag, no. We're gonna start off with really light questions, and then we're gonna escalate them a little further to give you a little more, make it a little harder. Okay, red flag, no red flag. Uh, but before I even say that, I'm gonna say this. I have found in the past, not this is not true of all women, but I have found in the past that men have red light, green light. Women have red light, yellow light, green light. Okay, where they're nurturing them sometimes puts themselves in the situation and they say stuff like, well, I could understand,
Oh,
well,
Mikey, hold
they
on,
try
hold
to
on.
explain to you and you're like,
Hold on one second. Just read the question that just came in just before we go into red flag, no flag.
what about a man and a woman being best friends even they dated before? Are you what are your opinions on that? What are your opinions on people being best friends?
A man
Best
and a
friends?
woman be best friends. I got it.
That
I have a male best friend. We've been best friends since we're 11 years old. And there's lines that are not crossed. And that's it. So now there's a difference. Is this guy your best friend or is he the guy that you want to smash?
I always say that, right?
There's
Because
a
because
big difference.
for
Because
guys,
I am
right, we have
appalled by this dude. Like,
for
he
guys, I
grosses
feel
me
like
out
we
in
have
every way.
boxes. For guys, I feel like we have boxes in our brain. It's wife, girlfriend, whatever, whatever. Then there's the sister box where you're like, I wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot fucking pole. You are my friend. And then there's the you're my friend, sis. But if you slip, you get in
Mira.
this dick. You know what I'm saying? So like you gotta find out which one it is. Because if it's A, yeah, obviously, no, that could happen. You could be with,
Yeah,
but
like
you
don't
just
be
have to
so
figure it out.
naive. You know what I mean? Like that's not your best friend. If that's even a question, that's not your best friend.
Exactly.
You
If
know,
that line gets blurred, all of a sudden that's not your best
it's
friend. You know
not
what I'm
your
saying? You
best friend.
gotta and
It's somebody
if
that you just
you're
kind of been fancying. You know.
yeah, you're just trying to like you're just trying to negotiate and try to figure it out for you. See what they could do. All right, so red flag, no
Okay.
red flag. You go to a nice restaurant, he offers to take you out, and his card gets declined. He wait, let me finish. His card gets declined, and he often
Um,
says to you, "Oh shit, I could get you the money. Can I get you the money? I just, something got mixed up."
I'm pretty independent, so that wouldn't even phase me. I'll be like, yo, I'll pay for it. What's the big deal?
No, but that's not the question. The question is,
Red
would it be
flag
a red
here,
flag
though.
towards him?
Is this our first date? Are we? Do I
First
know
date,
this
first date.
person to not be first date?
Yeah.
You knew your card was going to decline. You prepare for first dates.
Yeah, I'm like,
Don't
you didn't
bullshit me.
prepare. Like, come on, bro. That's
You
I
prepare
found
for
out when I
first
read
date.
that. I
You
said,
knew your
what
damn
the
card was going to decline. Hell no. Some people
like
just shitty
you
like
didn't
that.
prepare. In other words, maybe not the actual card getting declined because that could happen, whatever, but the fact that you weren't prepared for your first
Yeah,
date, like, didn't you know?
go ahead with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Red flag.
I got it. I got it. Okay, so red flag, no red flag. You find out that you've been dating for him for 6 months. You've been dating
Mm-hmm.
him for 6 months. You find out, and he hasn't told you, so he never revealed this to you, but you find out that 3 years prior, 3 years prior, so you went 6 months, 3 years prior, he got out of a 5-year prison sentence.
I'm like, damn, boy, you should have told me something. Me too. I'll make T-shirts and shit.
Yeah,
No.
we can be a couple.
I see how that could be a big deal for a lot of people. For me, it's not, because I believe that people are rehabilitated, you know, and you did the crime, you did the time. Let's move on.
But okay, so my question is this though, and I appreciate the
Because
answer.
I'm imagining, hold on, I'm imagining if you're telling me I'm dating this guy for 6 months, right? So he
Right.
must be about it. He must be some dope dude, because I'm not just dating any kind of,
True,
you know what I mean?
but
So he
don't you
obviously has his
think
life together.
so? Okay, so I guess you're right. You're right. You know what? After 6 months, you already like him, because I was thinking more along the lines of the deception, the not coming clean earlier. But some people take a little longer when it comes
I
to
mean, I'm the person to ask, because I'll tell you right now, it was extremely hard for me to reveal my past to people. I didn't lead with that.
yeah, you're
I
right.
had to get to know you. I had to make sure that you were somebody that I was going to be able to trust. And then I would be like, listen, I got something to tell you. I didn't feel comfortable telling you in the beginning, but this is what I'm looking at. And, I might go to prison for 15 years, but who knows? You know what I mean? So it's like, I mean, will you be my pen pal?
Will
No.
you write me
Will
inmate
you
number
write me, put money in my
774777?
commissary? You
Let
know
me
what I
tell you
mean?
something. You know what's crazy?
So,
I guarantee you would have had 100 letters a week. Easy. Guys are thirsty out here, bro. Guys are thirsty out here. You would have had 100 letters a week. Okay, so I'm gonna close it with this one on you for you. Now cover your kids' ears if they're around, but I'm gonna ask this question: big dick or big dick energy?
oh, come on, bro. Are you serious? That's a real question?
That's a real question. You want somebody with a
We
big dick
learned
or
from the other
big dick
night that
energy?
anybody can have big dick energy. So goodbye with that shit. See you later. Show me the money.
But wait. The opposite could be true too. He could be have all that, but then when you're hanging out with him, he's a pussy. He can't defend you. He crumbles under pressure. He starts to cry during movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that what you want? That's little dick energy. I don't care how big his dick is. So, or you know what I
It's
mean? So you
very
gotta ask
rare.
yourself.
No, it's very, very rare. Let me tell you something. When a guy has a big dick, he knows it and he acts it. There's no there's no. That's like, come on. That's non-existent. There's no such thing as a guy with a big dick with little dick energy. It's like they
The
carry that
bullshit.
shit like a
Bullshit.
damn
Hey,
badge.
listen, man. As a guy that's been in locker rooms with plenty of people, bro, I can tell you, yes, there is. Yes, there is, dog. There's plenty of dudes out there that you're like, why you acting like such a pussy, man? I'd be a porno star if I was you. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe he's not being a pussy. Maybe he's just being nice.
Okay. Look at the excuses a woman will make when a guy has a big dick. Isn't that crazy? The excuses
I
a
will
woman will make
defend
for a
them
man
to the
if
end,
he has
damn
a
it.
big dick. Oh my God.
I will
No,
defend
I'm
the
just
penis
joking.
to the
It's
end.
all good. It's all good. Well, we're gonna end it there. Ladies and gentlemen, obviously I want to thank my guest, Queen Meech.
Thank you for
And she
having
was
me.
fantastic as always. We love having her on. She's definitely coming back. We're gonna have her on, and we're gonna adjust the show. When me and her get on, we're just gonna talk about different stuff as well. But I want to say a couple of things before I go. And I was thinking of always of being consistent on how I close my show. Right, and I thought about some words that I'm gonna be using repeatedly, but I just want to say that they mean a lot to me, and that's why I'm going to close every show with the same exact phrase. And it reminds me of I forgot what was that the Truman Show or something like that, where somebody used to close the show with the whatever. But no, I'm gonna, and it goes just a little something like this. Mark Twain said, "The two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why." Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Hopeful Romantic M.A.N podcast. I'm your boy Dropping Dimes, aka the Hopeful Romantic, aka the feminist with chauvinist tendency. And I want to thank everybody for joining me in my why. Have a good night, everybody.
Hey.